Welcome every single person to another unemployment slash career development related video, because today's video is going to be relatively interesting because today's video is dedicated to anyone that's either unemployed or is maybe employed but is thinking about potentially leaving their jobs, because we've made so many videos dedicated to a lot of the stuff that have been happening right now related to the layoffs. Obviously this has been hitting hard inside of the tech industry, but really a lot of other industries as well. But today's video is going to be taking a little bit of a shift to talk about maybe when it's going to be time to potentially consider leaving your job voluntarily. Now, this video is not to encourage people to leave their jobs per se, because obviously if you love your job, you should stay at your job, especially if you think there's a lot of stuff going for you. But this video is really dedicated to maybe if there's something going on in your career that you're not fully happy with, you're not fully satisfied, and it might be time to consider changing career courses. So that's what this video is going to be all about. 5 signs that it might be time to look for a new job. So we're going to get this video rolling. There's going to be some personal anecdotes, so even if you've seen another video, there's going to be a lot of personal stories as someone that has been fired before, sadly, as someone that has resigned a job on my own will, and as someone that has actually been laid off, and sometimes for uncontrollable circumstances as well. Like what happened with the pandemic. Everyone in my industry, we all lost our jobs. Most people know this, but if you don't know, if you're brand new here, consider subscribing. But I work in the film and events industry outside of this. I'm a former engineer, and right now I'm just making videos that are talking about career development. So with that being said, let's get this video started. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and as always, feel free to leave a comment about honestly just really anything. It is always really great even to say hi to you guys. So with that being said, let's get this video rolling. So the first sign that it might be time to consider leaving your job or considering a career change of some kind, even if it's just staying in the same career but going to a different position, is really related to physical and mental health. And this is definitely one of the big ones, because the big idea is that I think it's very fair to say that you should prioritize your health above almost everything. And I say this, and although this might sound like common sense for some people, there are a lot of people out there that will often prioritize their career now over their health and everything related to that. But there's a saying and quote that goes that one of the biggest differences is that when you're someone that has really good health, you're able to continue living life with a lot of different goals. But when you don't have very particularly good health, you're basically now stuck with just one goal, and that's sadly to get better. So the big idea is that if you feel that it's currently now impacting your health, definitely especially physical health, but even just mental health, because that is going to impact your drive to do things on a regular basis, it might be time to consider leaving your job, or certainly maybe even changing your career to another position. Now, so that's going to be the first thing. Now, the second time that it might be interesting to consider trying to leave your job is if you feel that the current job that you have, you're no longer able to grow from. And I always tell people that I think one of the biggest things, and this even ties to mental health as well, is that for the sake of our sanity and motivation, it's really important that we're able to try to work on ourselves, to try to grow each and every single day. You might have some off days where maybe you're not growing as much, and that's okay. You know, we all need to rest eventually. You know, there's burnout and stuff. But at the end of the day, we have to be trying our best, at least we should be trying our best, to try to progress as much as possible. So if you find yourself in a case where maybe you're no longer learning anything new, you feel like the job is currently now starting to become redundant, every day is feeling the same exact way, it might be time to consider changing your job, or at the very least, interestingly, and I say this is that's why I say you don't have to necessarily leave your job, but at the very least consider trying to pursue a promotion within your company. I only say this is because a lot of times, or say the part about changing your jobs a lot of times, is because it's a very well-known fact that today, a lot of times it's often faster to build your career by jumping between jobs than it is to by staying at your particular job and hoping for a promotion that might come in the indefinite future, so you don't really know when it's going to come, if it even does end up coming at all. So basically the second idea is if you feel like you're lacking growth, it might be time to consider looking for a new job. Okay, there are sirens outside. We're going to take a minute and then we're going to come back to the video. Okay, so the third reason why it might be time to consider leaving your job, and this is one that actually has a personal story behind my particular situation, is really because of social reasons and being able to click with the dynamic of your particular company. And this is really, really important because while it is true that, we are there to work, at the end of the day, there's two sides of this. The first is that it's really, really important to find a job that can cater to our social just personality type. And then it's also important to find a job that caters to being able to fit in with the company culture. On the former hand, when it comes to just finding a job that fits your personality type, that's really particularly important because it's going to help your sanity or just your career progression about what environment you work best in. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you're relatively more introverted, you might prefer an environment where you don't really have to talk to a lot of different people. If you happen to be more extroverted, it might be time to consider a career where you do get a lot of exposure to talking to a lot of people. That's the former side of it. Now, the latter side about it is really about trying to see if you can find a way to fit in with the company culture or the social circle inside. This is something that I actually really, really related to because as some of you guys know, and there's a video I made about why I quit my six-figure job way back in engineering, and one of the things I talk a lot about is because of social reasons, because it's really important to click with the culture of your social circle within that actual particular company. I talk a lot about how that time in that era, I was really trying to, find a job that could allow me to work with diversity. I wanted diversity, I wanted variety, I wanted to be able to meet new people, and I wanted to work in a relative place that had a little bit of a young culture where we can kind of do cool things together even outside of work and really bond to build up. This is obviously subjective, but that was what I was looking for at that time here. In my old industry in engineering, it was basically mostly men, conservative, married men that wanted to just go home and not really do too much outside of work. They settled very early, which is nothing wrong with that, but it just was a conflict when it came to social life. And that is one of the biggest things that I think it should be time to consider leaving your job. But feel free to share any particular comments down below. Now, the fourth situation that it might be time to consider leaving your job is really related to work-life balance. And this is something I also related very much with. And I think it's really important because at the end of the day, as dedicated as it is to be, able to contribute and work hard at your job, it's also very important to find balance so you avoid things like burnout. Even for people that love their jobs, it is very possible to feel burnout after working a certain number of hours at it. And I can only imagine that because the statistic is that most people in our country do not particularly like their jobs, or at the very least work a job where it leaves more to be desired. What it does mean is that for those people, it's going to be even easier to burn out. So if you feel that it's currently now impacting your work-life balance, you're consistently canceling plans, consistently canceling things related to family, friends, hobbies, other kinds of side hustles, goals, anything in that world, it might be time to consider looking for another new job that might be able to cater to it, unless it's something that you've already accepted. That's kind of why we talk about how this is just one of the many 5 reasons that we're going to really bring up about when you should consider leaving your job. This is just one of them, but I know some people are just willing to be dedicated to kind of just put up with it anyway. But if you are not able to be, someone that puts up with it, then this is something to potentially consider. And then finally, the last reason why it might be time to consider looking for a new job is really related to change and environment. So this is the one that's really, really interesting because a lot of times I think for the sake of sanity, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, it's really, really important to find a job where, for a lot of people at least, where you're constantly being able to be challenged and interested in the particular work you're doing. But if you're doing the same thing every single day, it's a lot more difficult to find that. And I think a lot of times as humans, we need to have change to be able to have a new change of pace and a new breath of fresh air so that we can have more drive to continue going. It just brings a lot more excitement to our life, and it brings a lot more change, as just the word suggests, and it just makes us typically a lot happier, I think, for a lot of people, depending on the change that's happening. But for a lot of times, it is often better for the better when people make these adjustments. The big idea is that it might simply just be time to look for a new job, really just for change itself, because it's really just to experiment. This is especially true if you're particularly young right now. You might not know what's currently out there, and it might be cool to maybe experiment a little bit, whether this is about changing your job, so you're still staying in the same career and industry, but just changing your job, or changing your position within the job, or maybe just starting a fresh career in general. I had to do that when I bounced from engineering into entering into the film and events industry, which again, there's a video. I'll put it at the very end screen if you want to hear the story about how everything kind of unfolded. But it might be time to consider that. It can also be a change in lifestyle. It could be a change in your environment. It could be maybe a change in just your typical lifestyle, such as maybe you want to become a digital nomad. You want to have a job where you can work remotely. You want to be able to travel more. You want to be able to pursue other goals. All of this stuff really ties into the big idea of change, environment, and excitement. Being able to find something that maybe you have a burning passion to really be able to go out there and really at least experiment, to test the water and try that maybe this might be something that's even better than your previous job for you. But of course, some of this stuff is going to be subjective depending on what you're looking for in your particular career. But I think this is relatively universal for certainly at least most people out there that's currently working their particular job. With that being said, that's pretty much what I really wanted to cover in today's video. So if you guys found that insightful and haven't done so, maybe consider smashing the like button, subscribe, hit the bell. Feel free to leave a comment about your current career situation or really anything at all. It's just always great to hear from you guys. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay employed, or stay active looking for employment, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.